The first baby ever born would become the world's first murderer. His name was Cain. He killed his own brother. God confronted him. The ground itself was cursed because of his crime. Then, Cain disappeared. Where did he go? Who did he marry? Why did God place a mark on him? Why was no one allowed to kill him? And how did he build an entire city if there were supposedly so few people alive? These are some of the greatest mysteries in the early chapters of the Bible. Today, we'll uncover what Scripture truly says about Cain and separate biblical truth from popular myths. This story is found in Genesis 4, verses 1 to 26. After Adam and Eve were driven from the Garden of Eden, life changed forever. Sin had entered the world. Pain, hard work, suffering, death. Yet God did not abandon them. In time, Eve gave birth to her first son. She named him Cain. She said, "I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord." Later, she gave birth to another son, Abel. The two brothers grew up together, but they chose very different paths. Cain became a farmer. He worked the soil. Abel became a shepherd. He cared for flocks. Both earned their living honestly. But what mattered most was not their occupations. It was the condition of their hearts. One day, both brothers brought offerings to God. Cain presented some of the produce from his fields. Abel brought the firstborn of his flock, the best portions. The Bible tells us that God looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but he did not accept Cain's offering. Why? Genesis does not give every detail, but later Scripture helps explain. Hebrews 11:4 says Abel offered his sacrifice by faith. His offering reflected trust and reverence toward God. Cain's did not. The problem was never vegetables versus animals. It was the attitude of the worshiper. Instead of examining his own heart, Cain became angry. Very angry. His face fell. Before Cain acted, God spoke to him. God asked, "Why are you angry?" Then he gave one of the Bible's earliest warnings about temptation. God said, "Sin is crouching at your door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it." What a picture. Sin was like a wild beast waiting to attack. Cain still had a choice. He could master his anger, or allow it to master him. Sadly, he chose the second path. Cain invited Abel into the field. Perhaps Abel suspected nothing. Perhaps he trusted his older brother completely. Away from everyone else, Cain attacked him. The first human death recorded in Scripture was not from disease, not from old age, not from an accident. It was murder. Brother killed brother. The earth drank innocent blood for the first time. The Lord asked, "Where is your brother Abel?" God already knew the answer. The question was an invitation to confession. Instead, Cain lied. He answered, "I do not know." Then came one of the most famous questions in history. "Am I my brother's keeper?" God replied, "What have you done?" Then he declared, "Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." Cain's crime could not remain hidden. God pronounced judgment. The ground would no longer yield its strength for Cain. He would become a restless fugitive and a wanderer. Instead of expressing sorrow for Abel, Cain focused on himself. He cried, "My punishment is greater than I can bear." Then he said something many readers notice. "Whoever finds me will kill me." This raises an important question. Who was Cain talking about? Genesis tells us Adam and Eve had many sons and daughters. Generations were already growing. Cain feared retaliation from his extended family. God responded with unexpected mercy. The Lord declared that anyone who killed Cain would face severe judgment. Then God placed a mark on Cain. The Bible never explains what the mark looked like. Many theories exist, but Scripture does not say. Any claim about its appearance is speculation. Its purpose, however, is clear. It was God's sign of protection. Even after Cain's terrible sin, God restrained further bloodshed. Genesis says Cain left the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Nod means wandering. There, Cain married. Where did his wife come from? The Bible does not introduce her by name. The most straightforward explanation from Genesis is that she was one of Adam and Eve's later descendants, likely a sister or close relative. At that early stage of human history, marriages between close relatives were necessary to populate the earth. The later laws forbidding such marriages had not yet been given. One of the biggest surprises in the story is that Cain built a city. He named it after his son, Enoch. This tells us several things. Cain did not live alone. His family grew. Other descendants of Adam and Eve multiplied. Civilization itself was beginning. People were establishing settlements. Technology, music, livestock management, and metalworking would later develop among Cain's descendants. Genesis records several generations after Cain. One descendant, Lamech, became known for violence. He boasted of killing a man. He even claimed greater vengeance than Cain. Sin had spread. The murder of Abel had opened the door to increasing wickedness in human society. The consequences of Cain's rebellion extended far beyond one generation. The New Testament uses Cain as a warning. Hebrews praises Abel's faith. 1 John 3, verses 11 through 12, says believers should not be like Cain, who hated his brother. Jude warns against following the way of Cain, a life marked by pride, rebellion, and self-will. Jude 1:11. Cain became a lasting example of what happens when jealousy and sin are allowed to rule the heart. Life lessons from the story. This captivating story of Cain teaches the following lessons. 1. God looks first at the heart, not merely the outward gift. 2. Jealousy, if left unchecked, can lead to terrible consequences. 3. God warns us before sin destroys us. 4. Every action has lasting consequences. 5. God's justice is real, but so is his mercy. 6. True worship begins with faith and obedience. Cain thought he had silenced his brother forever, but Abel's blood still cried out. Cain walked away from the field, but he could never walk away from the consequences of his choices. His story is not merely about the first murder. It is about the danger of an unchecked heart. It is about the mercy of a God who still warned before judging. And it reminds every generation that sin, when embraced, always leads farther than we ever intended to go. The question is no longer, what happened to Cain? The question is, what will we do with the warnings God gives to us today? As you reflect on this question, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share as we uncover more captivating and inspiring stories from the Bible. God bless you.